Well, good morning. Happy Friday to you guys. Coming into Father's Day weekend. Hope all the fathers have a great Father's Day. I'm Trucker Todd, and it's time for another video. Okay, let me recap for some of you guys that maybe this is your first time to watch me. First of all, let's congratulate all of you. We reached 600 subscribers over the past couple of days. I appreciate everybody taking the time to subscribe, and I really appreciate everybody watching. I realize there's a lot bigger YouTube channels out there, but 600 subscribers for a trucking channel is not bad, especially since we've only really been doing this about a year and a half or so. So anyway, as you know, a while back, a few weeks ago, I got into a pretty public deal with Dart Transit. We've since worked things out, but as a result of that, I got a lot of job offers. I got a lot of doors opened up to me, and I'm currently trying to decide what I want to do. I do like it here, but as I said, a lot of opportunities have opened up, and I'm certainly weighing my options right now. As I was weighing my options, one company asked me a question that I very rarely have been asked by either viewers or trucking companies, and I generally don't look until I'm actually in the market for a job. And so this was just out of the blue. They said, what's your business plan? Now, you guys have probably heard me say before, in high school I took DECA, which was a business marketing class, and I even went to state and national level competitions in it, and was pretty good at it, I like to think. And so to me, when they say business plan, I'm thinking a 5 to 10 year written proposal. And they said, no, just give us a verbal business plan of what you expect your business to do. I said, well, what would you like to know? Well, how much do you plan to work? As little as possible. How often do you plan to go home? As often as possible. And they were kind of puzzled by that, and I'm sure you are too, because we all know drivers that go out and they lease these big, beautiful trucks, and they go home, show their neighbors, and they lose the truck because they can't pay for it. So, in this video, I'm going to tell you what my actual business plan was for these guys. And I'm also going to help you company guys out too, because it's been made aware to me that we've got a lot more new drivers watching these videos. And so I want to tell you how to set realistic expectations for the company you're going to work for. And then I also want to share my business plan with you as well. All right, folks, let's jump right into it. This is going to be a quick one, I hope.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down. Flying by these road signs with home on my mind, with these wheels turning round. For my family and for my kids, for this life I want to live. And this is why I do this.
Okay, and we're back. Before we go any further, you guys give me a thumbs up. Continue to click that subscribe button. Wait a few seconds. Click that bell, then select all. That way you guys will be notified about future videos. As I said, we're now over 600. Let's go ahead and push it up to 1,000. But also, if you look down in the description, there is a lot of great information. There's my email. There's my Instagram. I mean, not Instagram. There's my Facebook. A lot of great information down there. So go down there, check that stuff out. And the social media especially, there's a lot of content that we put there that doesn't always show up on the YouTube channel. It's free to do, and then you'll be a part of that. Okay. Also, I want to tell you what's coming up on Monday's video. A lot of you have been asking me, where did I get the new Volvo truck that's coming? What other companies am I considering? I'm going to tell you on Monday's video two companies that, well, really one, but sort of two companies that are definitely in the running. And so I'll go ahead and share one of them with you now. One of those two companies is I may stay right here at Dart. You guys know that I like it here. We did have a bump in the road. That's normal in trucking. We got it worked out. I'm happy, and I may stay here. I may bring that Volvo here. So that's definitely a possibility. I will tell you one of my other top 5 companies and why in Monday's video. You want to be a part of that. You want another clue, there it is on Monday. So let's talk about today's subject. So for company drivers, you know, that's a lot of times people get focused on rate. And in this video, it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. Rate for company drivers is very important, but something equally or maybe even more important is when you're on mileage, and this is true for you lease operators that are on mileage also. Rate's important, but how many miles you're going to get is also very important. Now, trucking companies love to say, the recruiting departments, you'll get 3,000 miles a week. But their safer score a lot of times will say different. I would encourage all of you, for any trucking company that you're considering, Google the trucking name and then write safer at the end of it and look at their information. In there, you'll see how many trucks they got, you'll see how many drivers they got, and what they reported to the government their mileage was for the year. Well, you can divide their mileage by the number of drivers they have, and you can see what the average driver did in mileage per year. Then you can divide it by 52 and see what the average driver did per week. And almost always, it's a lot less than the 3,000 that they're promising. And so that's important, because if you're getting 60 cents a mile, but you're only running 1,200 miles a week, you're still not making that great of money. But if you're getting 50 cents a mile and you're running 2,800 miles a week, you might be making pretty good money. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here of, I got a car passing by, sorry, I'm distracted. But anyway, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what I found when I looked into this, and you can compare. Now, I want to be upfront with you guys. I do not, under any circumstances, recommend either one of these companies I'm about to show you examples of. I've looked at both of them. I consider them both to be bottom of the barrel bad companies. So I am by no means endorsing either one of these companies. But let's jump right in with the first one. This is for you company drivers again. Got the old clip, or the old paper out again. Now, this is Trans Am Trucking out of Olathe, Kansas. They're advertising right now a whopping 32 cents a mile. Now, I was thinking back, when was the last time I made 32 cents a mile? It was 2001, 20 years ago. So they've got rates from 20 years ago. Now, I looked up their safer score. It's from 2019, and I guess the new numbers haven't come out yet. Now, they do say after 6 months they'll increase you to 37 cents a mile, which is horrible. Again, it was early 2000s when I made that kind of money. Now, according to Safer, they have 1,605 trucks, but they only have 1,051 drivers. So almost half their trucks are empty. That's not good either. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. And so I divided how many miles a year it said they did by the number of trucks. Came up with 90,853 miles a year, or 1,746 miles a week. If I went by the drivers, which is the more favorable way to look at them, they did 138,698 miles a year, or approximately 2,667 a week in miles. Now, I averaged those two together because I was trying to be fair. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. 2,206 is the average miles a week. Now, if you multiply 2,206 by 32 cents, you get $705.95 a week. Now that's gross. Remember, you're going to have taxes taken out of that. If you get health insurance, you're going to have that taken out. So depending on how many kids you have and your current situation, what state you live in, if you have a state income tax or something like that, you could be looking at $500 to $600 a week. And if you took any advances out on the road, you could be looking at even less than that. Does this sound like a good deal to anybody? Seriously, I mean, their big advertisement, oh, you'll get a new truck or a really nice truck. We've got T680s, blah, blah, blah. But what good's a pretty truck if you can't pay your bills at home? And so let's move on down the line. Here's another one that I would not recommend. Soar Transportation out of West Valley City, Utah. They're the highest paying one that I'm aware of. They show 68 cents a mile. Now, they have 320 trucks, 303 drivers. So that means they've only got 17 empty trucks. That is a much better deal. So I just went ahead and went by drivers here. It works out to 127,264 miles a year, or what is that, 2447 a week, almost 2,500 miles a week. So not bad. Again, not 3,000 miles a week, not bad. If you multiply that by 68 cents, you see it's $1663.96, almost, well, it is over double what you would make at Trans Am. So much better. And that's why rate and miles are important. That's why I encourage everybody to look at the Safer Score. So now let's talk about me, and let's talk about lease purchase. One thing that you've got to do, and I know I used to hate talking about this too, you've got to know what your daily costs are. It's impossible to have a plan if you don't know what those costs are. Just like it's impossible to plan a trip if you don't know where you're going. You know, if your dispatcher calls you and says, oh, we might send you to Utah, we might send you to Ohio, might send you to California, you can't trip plan until you know exactly where you're going. Well, it's the same with here too. If you don't know what your costs are, you don't know how much you need to make. And so I broke mine down for you guys, and I'm going to try to explain to you how I got there. Now, let me explain what I said earlier in the video. How many miles a week do you want to drive? As few as possible. How often do you want to go home? As much as possible. All right, for that to work, you got to understand the logic behind it. A few months ago, when they had the last deal in Houston, seemed like it was a hurricane or something, FEMA had a deal with DART, and they called me and asked me if I wanted to do it. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it because of a doctor's appointment, but the deal was they paid you $1,000 a day, whether they needed you or not. Now, you'll see in a minute $1,000 a day, and my deal is not bad. But is that better, or would I be better running 600 miles a week for $1,000? Well, that's the whole point of this. It's not how many miles you run, and this is why I don't like mileage pay for lease purchase. I like percentage. It's not how many miles you run, it's how much revenue you generate per day. And so $1,000, if I only have to run 150, 200 miles, or they might not even need me that day and I still get the $1,000, is a lot better than if I have to run 500 or 600 miles to get that money, or maybe even 700 on a mileage deal, because I'm having to pay for fuel and wear and tear on my truck. So you want to run as few miles as you can that generates the most revenue. How often do you want to go home? As much as you can, but you got to be smart about it. You're going to see in a second when I show you my daily cost, those come out whether I'm working or not. And so if I go home for 4 or 5 days, I've got to be mindful of that when I come back out. So you try to get loads like I'm doing right now, where I'm going to pass through the house later today. I'll spend the night there and I'll keep going. That way I'm still generating revenue every day. I'm going home, I'm seeing the family, but I'm still out here generating revenue so that I don't get behind the 8 ball. All right, now that I've explained that, let's take a look. I pulled this off my most recent settlement. $172.86 is my daily fixed cost plus fuel. Now, I do have some optional insurances. I'm on their legal plan, things like that. So that is that's why that number might seem a little high to you. I try to average fuel of 80 gallons or less a day. And I can't read because it puts it backwards. I try to keep my fuel cost under $275 a day. Now, you have to adjust that based on what part of the country you're in. In some parts of the country, it's real easy to do under that. And for a long time, I was figuring my average daily cost with fuel and everything at around $400 a day. Now, I pulled a heavy load. My fuel economy went down. So on this last trip, it was around $447 a day with the fuel and the daily cost together. I just round it up and call it $450 a day. Now, I've set a personal goal to make at least $750 a day minimum to the truck. Now, that is, you can see 750 minus 450 is 300 a day. You're like, well, I'd like to make 300 a day, but you got to remember 30% of that you need to be putting back for taxes and things like that. So at a minimum, I'm trying to clear $200 a day. It's 300 gross. Try to clear 200 of that a day. And that would be a minimum. That'd be a bare minimum. That's $1,400 a week. Now, I told you about the FEMA deal. And at $1,000 a day minus your $450, and it would actually be less than that because you wouldn't be burning fuel if you were sitting. That's $550 net to the truck. So that's not bad. And you take out a third of that, you're still looking at somewhere around 400 or a little over 400 a day. So that would be 400 times 7. You could make a $2,800 a week take home even after you put back your 30%. Now, this is why mileage is bad. Just to get to my minimum where I'd clear 200 a day, 1,400 a week, what I'd call company driver pay. A lot of companies are paying $1 a mile. Then you add, say, a 30-cent fuel surcharge or 35 cents. You've got to drive 576 miles a day just to hit your minimum. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, I can do 500 and something miles a day. Yeah, you can. But what happens when your truck breaks down? What happens when you want to go home for a couple of days? That average is going to drop. And so it's hard to do that day in, day out, unless you've got a dedicated run. Am I saying there's never, ever a good time to do a mileage pay contract? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you do a mileage pay contract, you're going to have to realize how hard you're going to have to work to make that money. And I do recommend percentage. You guys know that. So now let's go on down. And I just broke it down some more. It's roughly $200 a day on that deal when you're doing that. So you're looking at just to get to your 1,400. That's what you're looking at. And so the takeaway from this, and the point I'm trying to get to, is just learn your numbers. If you don't know what your numbers are, call your fleet manager. Get with somebody, get with me. I'll try to help you figure it so that you can make a good decision about where to work, what to do. And for whatever you do, look at those safer scores. Another thing to check if you're a lease purchase on those safer scores, it's kind of a thermometer for how the drivers are doing. Look at the vehicle out of service numbers. See if their percentage is higher or lower than the national average. Why is that important? Well, it tells you two things. As a company driver, it tells you how well the company maintains their equipment. As a lease purchase, it tells you how much money the drivers are making. Because the first thing drivers let go when they're not making money is maintenance. They start cutting corners on maintenance, running tires a little longer than they should, not replacing headlights, things like that. So it'll show what the national average is, and then it'll show what their percentage is. If their percentage is higher than the national average, oftentimes their lease purchase drivers are struggling to make it there. And I'll just let you know, save you some time. Dart's numbers are really good. And so that tells me most of their drivers are pretty successful here. But companies like Trans Am, they were like 5 or 6% above the national average. That's not a good sign. Almost half their trucks are empty. That's not a good sign. So look at these things and be aware of what you're getting yourself into. That's kind of the point of this video. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.